there are days when I cry and I'm like, oh my God, Keiana, why did you take all of this on your head? Why are you stressing yourself out? You could just be living a little cozy life, working a little 9-to-5 job and calling it a day. On the flip side of that, I am just grateful to be here, and I'm grateful to be able to build my business and see it through. And yeah, hi guys, welcome back to the video slash podcast. So today I'm going to talk about my journey to entrepreneurship, and it's inspired by a question I got the other day where someone asked me if I always knew I wanted to start my own business, or did it kind of surprise me that I came down this path, especially because I used to work 9-to-5. So we're going to talk all about that, and then I'm also going to answer some questions that you guys asked me on Instagram. So let's get into it. So I feel like I was always a hustler by nature. I was always just kind of excited by the idea of having money or making more money, and I don't really know why that was from such a young age. But I was always the type to be making jewelry and selling it. I would host little talent shows and then charge my family or say, you need to pay to be here, like just comments like that. I was always just kind of like that. And then growing up, it just kind of showed more and more that I just love to like think of ideas and find ways to come up with businesses, right? From a very young age, I was doing tutoring. I was also I remember even younger than that, at 7 or 8, I would draw calendars. Like I would take paper from or printer and draw lines and make calendars from January to December, walk around my neighborhood selling it for like $10, like 10 Jamaican dollars. And it was just so crazy to me looking back, like, where is this energy coming from, you know? But yeah, I think I really just always found it fun to make more money. I think also too, so I didn't grow up rich, but I went to prep school in Jamaica. Prep school is kind of like, I guess, private school. It always feels weird calling it private school because I feel like it doesn't seem as elite and different from when you compare it to private schools in like the States and Canada and stuff. But it really is that. It's just private school. Anyways, so I grew up around people that I felt always had more money than me. And the interesting thing about it was that my parents always tried to like cast this illusion so that, you know, I didn't notice as much or feel that. I don't know if this was intentional, but I never really felt poor. I never felt like I was in a lower tax bracket in comparison to all of my other friends, because I just had symbols of wealth around me in a sense. So for example, I'll explain. I never felt like I was poorer than my friends, because one thing that was really common is that people at my school were always traveling, and so was I. But the reason I was always able to travel so much was because my mom worked with the airline company, right? So we paid a lot less to go all over the place. And also, even then, we would go to places where we had family, so that accommodation wasn't a cost. Whereas I would have friends going to like places in Europe or all over the Caribbean and just stuff like that. So I think over time, as I got older, I started to realize like, oh, I also just wasn't as rich as some of my friends, and maybe that's also what drove my desire to make money and chase money and have things, because there were experiences that I would want to have and we simply just couldn't afford them, right? And as I got older too, and my desires changed, like it's different for a parent, I guess, when you want to make your child feel like they can have anything in the world because it's cheap to give them like candy, or it's cheap to give them like a board game. But as your kids get older and they're teenagers and they want to be going to parties with their friends or going to the movies every week. I remember a distinct comment my dad made once when I was in high school, and there were a couple weeks in a row where me and my friends were going out, and my dad, on like maybe the 4th or 5th week, he was like, yeah, we're not gonna be funding you to be going out with your friends back to back Friday, Saturday, every single week. Like money's just not coming like that for us. We're not giving you money like that, you know? So yeah, all that to say, I think very early on, I probably recognized that to be able to get the life that I want, I'm gonna need to make more money. And I always was just brainstorming ways to make money. Fast forward to high school, yeah, I was very much always tutoring. I was even selling candy in high school at a point, and that was when I really realized like how business oriented I could really be, because that whole candy business was just, it started with me. My mom would buy me, everybody, you know, when you go to the grocery store with your parents give you like a treat, right? So I remember I would usually get like ring pops or something like that. And at one point, one day, I asked my mom, hey, can you just buy me some gum? And I bought the 15 pack of gum, and I went to school. So I can't even remember how much that would cost, but let's say the 15 pack of gum cost like 50 Jamaican dollars, right? I would literally go to school and sell each individual stick for like $10, right? So I was making 3 times as much as the actual cost of the item, but also I didn't pay for the item. So I was making the whole thing back, right? So just stuff like that. And then I would take the money that I would make buy 3 more packs of gum, triple that. And it was just so crazy. And all of a sudden, I remember my mom was like, where are you getting all this cash from? Where are you getting all this money from? And I was like, yo, like I'm selling it at school. And my mom just laughed it off. She was just like, yo, you're being ridiculous, you know? And then I remember one day she needed money for like gas, like she needed cash for something and she couldn't find any cash in the car. And I just went in my purse and I was like, here you go. And she's like, what? Like, where are you getting that money from? And I was just like, yeah, like from my business. And she just started realizing like, yo, like you actually have a lot of money in there. Like you're actually making money. So anyways, all that to say, first of all, I eventually had to shut that down because you weren't ever allowed to be selling candy at school. It was this school rule the school would have had where the cafeteria sells food. People shouldn't be competing with the cafeteria, all that kind of shit. They just don't want to make the hustlers thrive. I'm joking. But yeah, like I had to shut that down. But all of that just kind of taught me like I have what it takes to run a little business operation, you know? I think I really got addicted to the feeling of independence. The same thing with when I moved to Canada at age 17. I was so desperately ready to find a job, and that was one of the things I was most excited for. I was not excited to move to Canada, but I was excited to get a job. I've always just been like, how can we make money? How can we get richer? Because I just know the life I want to have really needed money, and I also didn't feel like I wanted to pressure my parents to be constantly asking for more. So for me, it was kind of like this mission on how can I make money? How can I also give back to my parents? Because as you get older too, you realize the sacrifices your parents made for you to get you here. I don't know what my parents had to do to really send me to prep school. I don't know if it really took much out of them, if it was doable for them. I don't know, but I know it wasn't easy for them, right? So I think with everything I did, it always got me back to I want to be financially independent. I want to be able to give back to my parents, and those are some of the things that even drive me right now. Okay, so fast forward to university. I began university in September 2016, and the plan right now is to just become an actuarial analyst. Finish your 4 years of school, get your degree, go work 9 to 5. Keep it traditional, keep it safe. You can start a business, but later on. I actually remember, I don't remember at what stage in my university lifetime, but I remember really wanting to finish up my whole actuarial journey and then having my own actuarial firm. But that's also something that you can't do early on in your career. It's definitely like a late career thing. But the mindset in terms of having my own thing was still definitely there, but the priority while in school was just let's finish school, let's get a job. So I did that, did my internship, kind of realized I didn't love the actuarial job that much, not because I didn't like the job, but I thought there were things that I was more interested in. And then in my 4th year of university, when I was wrapping up, I already have my full-time job settled, but I'm in my 4th year of school just wrapping up courses. I get this part-time job at a career coaching company for actuaries. So for people that want to become actuaries, this business kind of shapes you into becoming a top candidate for actuarial jobs, and they're looking for someone to edit their YouTube video. So by this point, I had already started my YouTube channel. These are COVID times, and I know how to edit videos. I apply because I'm like, what are the odds they find a video editor that already has such a wide background about the career? Plus I make my own YouTube videos online. She already can look at me and see what she needs to know if I'm good for the job, right? So I get the job and I'm exposed to this whole world of marketing. I start running their Instagram accounts, I'm running their Facebook accounts, and I'm editing their YouTube videos. I'm doing the captions. I'm just learning so much, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I love marketing. And I've always kind of been very interested in marketing. If I looked back at all the clubs I've joined and the roles I've had and the organizations I've been a part of, I was always doing marketing, events, or outreach. And those are just the stuff I'm really into. I'm always into things that involve community engagement and interactions and just expanding presence and like building reach, you know? So it was easy to know where my interests lie. And when you now merge that with the natural entrepreneurial spirit in me, what happened? I became a freelancer. So this is 2021, I think. I'm working at this company as a freelancer. I'm loving the life. Not to mention this job is remote. I just kind of fell in love with that structure. I love the freedom of being able to work whenever I want, still get paid. I'm doing doing work that I enjoy doing, it's just a win-win, you know? And then so when I started my full-time job in September of 2021, I kept this part-time job even though I really should have let it go. Like if I was on the track to just be an actuary and call that a day, like I really would have been like, okay, well, I need to quit this part-time job because time capacity wise, I really don't have it. But I kept it around because I just knew I needed to build up my experience in marketing, and I knew I wanted to be asked to be put on more projects, and I just knew it would benefit me. Like I knew I wasn't done learning what I needed to learn there, so I was gonna keep it. Especially too because that job made me so addicted to the whole wanting to be remote thing, and I felt like it would make more sense for me to keep the remote job because in the future maybe it would supplement my income if I decide to just pursue freelancing while keeping this remote job. Anyway, so I go through 2 years at my full-time actuarial job. I eventually quit in December 2023. Why? I've always known I wasn't gonna stay working as an actuary. Why? Because I just knew I wasn't that passionate about it, and I just believe personally I've been given the privilege to have this thought and just be able to realize like, yo, if I don't really like what I'm doing, I don't have to do it. I don't want to. I don't have to. There are other things to do, because if I'm going to show up to somewhere and work 40 hours a week, I need to make sure I like that. Because even though you work only 8 hours a day and the rest of the day is yours, you're exhausted, right? Like the end of the day, you're exhausted, you're tired, you're resetting, you're recharging to do this all over again the next day. You need to make sure what you're doing in the 8 hours is something you enjoy. What I'm not trying to do is resent my days and just only live for my weekends, which last like 2 minutes, right? Again, this is a privilege. I've watched my parents grow up having to just bring themselves to work, do what they do, and come back home and pay for their bills and live their life. But I just feel like I've also just been given the opportunity by my parents to have this decision. Like even now, you know, it's really risky for me to be quitting my job to go pursue what I'm pursuing, right? But at the end of the day, I know I have the support of my parents, and that's just such a big thing I'm grateful for. If I need to move back home, I can move home and go build my business in my house, in my room, at my mom's house, you know? I could move to Jamaica, go live with my dad and build my business there too. I have so many backups, not to mention my aunts and my uncles and my grandparents. Like I have the community and I definitely lean on them. So I have that to my advantage. So all in all, why I decided to have my own business is because I really wanted to work remotely. I started getting obsessed with that idea, and that became my driving goal in life. I want to be able to work from wherever I want, whenever I want. And interestingly enough, as an entrepreneur, you're working all the time. So this whole thing about like only having to work X amount of times per week, that's not necessarily what I was chasing. I wasn't necessarily chasing, oh, I only want to work 5, 10, 15 hours a week. Like I knew I would have to work, but I want to be wherever I want to be. For my 9-to-5 job, I was actually supposed to be living in London, Ontario, a city where I just knew I didn't want to live. And I definitely was pushing the limits because I moved downtown while still working at that job, and immediately people were like, why'd you move downtown Toronto if you're supposed to be in London, Ontario? You know, that's like 2.5 hours from where I live, right? So they're like, yo, what the hell? But yeah, it's just like, I just don't want to be told to be there. I want to work remotely. And at the end of the day, I do think like if I were to be working at that company in Toronto, I probably wouldn't have been so quick to leave, right? Because I'm in a place aligned with where I want to be. But even then, at the end of the day, I have plans and dreams where I want to travel. And I just think right now, at this point in my life, remote work is what I want. And it's possible. The opportunity is there, so why not go after it, you know? And the second reason why I decided to just pursue entrepreneurship and build out my own agency is because I started to fall in love with marketing, but I couldn't land any marketing jobs. Now, mind you, I wasn't necessarily applying aggressively, but that's also because I simply just wasn't qualified. Like when I would look at the LinkedIn posts, I really just wasn't as qualified as some of their ideal candidates, especially too because I was no longer like a fresh grad. I would have now been about a year or so into my career. It really was just like, they're looking for more entry level, not like fresh new grad, but entry level, beginner stage. And I was like, like I'm already freelancing, let's just try and see if I can build this into an agency. And so my plan with all of this to curate isn't my end goal, but my plan here is that I'm learning so much working in every single section of my business, right? Like I don't even know if marketing is where I see myself as a final place. Like I've learned so much about working in like growth or operations and all these areas of the business. There are just so many areas in a business you could be in that I had no exposure or knowledge about, because I did choose my career really early in life. I decided to pursue the actuarial path when I was 14 years old because I was good at math, and I was like, all right, I've done my part, I've picked my job, I'm good, right? But now it's like I'm realizing, okay, through my agency, I'm learning so much that even if I do go back into the 9-to-5 world, I now am closer to what I want to do. My camera's dying, oh my gosh. But yeah, back to what I was saying, like, I don't hate 9-to-5, and I think a lot of people think I'm very like anti 9-to-5. Like, no, I like stability. That's why I stayed in my job for years, because I wanted to hold on to that stability. But I knew in order to be able to have the time and flexibility that I need to build my business, I needed to just quit my job. Also, again, like, I just wasn't really loving my job anymore, so I was just like, yo, let's just go closer to where you want to be. So right now, I probably work more than 40 hours per week on my business. I work a part-time job where I work anywhere between 10 to 15 hours per week, and I also work at a cafe where I work another, like, I don't know, like 20 hours a week. Like, I'm working a lot right now. I'm working more than I would have done maybe if I just stayed at my 9-to-5, but everything I'm doing now brings me closer to my end goal. My job at my cafe allows me to meet so many people every single day. There's so many customers there that I just interact with a lot, that I talk to about marketing, that have introduced me to other people in the field, which is just invaluable, because my network right now is very much actuarial, right? Like, I need to be able to connect with people. And you guys know, if you follow me on TikTok, you know I've been trying to do my whole networking thing, and honestly the networking events haven't been super successful, and I think it's just because I don't like to network in those ways where, I don't know, I'm just not that comfortable yet. But the interactions I get from the cafe, for example, I'm literally talking to these people every day. Eventually you're like, oh, what do you do? And I'm like, oh, I do marketing. And they are like, some of them do marketing, and I get to learn more and talk to them and whatever. So that's the benefit I get out of that. The benefit I get out of my part-time job at the same career coaching business is that I now actually do their internal marketing, and being able to work on the internal side of a business is just so interesting, because I'm no longer working on how can we attract, but how can we attract new people, but instead how can we retain people. And that has taught me so much in terms of building a company, in terms of keeping employees, in terms of building a company that's very community oriented. Like, there's just so much I'm learning there. And then yeah, I'm doing Curate. Long-term goals in terms of, is this the only business I want to have? No. The only reason I decided to pursue Curate first is because, again, it was an easy transition since I've already been doing freelance marketing. And so it's kind of the perfect place to teach me how to run a business, as well as start to quickly generate income while having the ability to work remotely. But long term, I do want to build a business that's centered around a product or maybe service. Who knows? But I've always wanted to have a company centered around a product and just kind of grow out the company. And it definitely is hard to think of an idea for a business that's unique and all that kind of stuff. But that's why I like to go to pitch competitions to hear other people pitch their business ideas, see where it came from, and just kind of meet with different business owners and just talk. So I guess the question is, long term, is Curate like my end all be all? No, it's not. I do want to start another business soon. Not necessarily, not this year. Maybe next year, who knows? But my priority right now is just growing Curate so that it can be self-sustaining. Is that the word? Where I don't have to be so involved, like bringing new people onto the team to run the company and work in the company and all that kind of stuff. I've always just dreamed of having my own business, and Curate is that. Curate's gonna be my baby, but Curate isn't necessarily the business that I had in mind. Curate will definitely help because she'll do the marketing for whatever company I make, but you know what I mean? Anyways, I don't want to like put all my ideas out there, but just know like Curate isn't necessarily the end goal. Also too, like I've said, as I've been working and building out Curate, I even find myself attracted to working at like startups, and because I'm now starting to realize the positions that I really want to work in. And something you really learn from having a 9-to-5 job is you get to learn on the job, whereas now I feel like I'm doing a lot of the learning myself. I have to be researching for days and just gathering data from all these sources, whereas if I had a job, I would learn within the company and it would kind of just be handed to me. Networking opportunities would would be handed to me. It would just be a lot easier, but it's okay. We move. So yeah, I'm gonna answer some of the questions that you guys asked me on Instagram to close out this episode. Best advice you've gotten from mentors. I think the advice I've gotten that's most applicable to my life right now is that there's always tomorrow. If you guys watch my videos or if you know me, you know I'm always working and I'm always trying to find a reason why I need to keep working and working and working. And I'll stay up late and I'll decide, oh, I don't have time to go to the gym because I need to finish up this project. But there's always another day. You can bring the work into another day, and you have to establish that work-life balance or you'll go crazy. How to set a daily schedule as an entrepreneur. This is a really hard question and I've been struggling to answer it honestly, because it kind of just depends on your life and how much time you have to give to your business. I have a really crazy schedule because I have these different jobs. So I'm really just working on Curate at any point I have. I have 3 days of the week that I dedicate to just working on Curate, and those days are looking anywhere from 10 to 14 hour work days. The other days I try to prioritize my other jobs, but I slot Curate into it wherever I can and still probably get 2 to 3 hours of Curate work done on those days. If you want something badly enough, you're gonna make time for it and you're gonna go after it. How do you manage the transition from being an employee to an entrepreneur? This has been really hard. It was harder in the beginning. It's not as hard now. I think the interesting thing about this is that I am now an employee and the entrepreneur of Curate, right? And I think where I really struggled with at first was learning how to manage myself, because not only am I executing on tasks as an employee, but I'm also assigning myself the tasks. And the thing about it is I was really struggling in terms of how to nurture myself as an employee. Like, I would give myself tasks with unrealistic deadlines, and I would kind of just not respect my own time. Like, I would just be throwing all this stuff out and adding all these things to my to-do list and then getting frustrated with myself when they weren't completed. And the reality of it is that if I worked at a corporate job, when 5 o'clock comes, 5 o'clock comes. You know, when the work, it goes into the next day, and that's that. Like, my managers at my job had to respect my time, and they also had to help me figure things out. I have to be more gentle with myself on the fact that I am the one figuring things out. So I'm assigning myself tasks that I still have to go back and learn how to do and then execute them. And I've learned a lot on how to navigate that. So that was probably the biggest thing. But outside of that, things have been very smooth sailing. Maybe because I had so much experience freelancing, I was already in this groove of just like, I don't know, working on my own time and that kind of stuff. How has networking been? It's been okay. I don't think networking at the events that I've gone to have been super spectacular. Like, I've gotten a couple of connections on LinkedIn, and I've met some people online through posting my own content and stuff like that. But I think something I'm learning is that networking isn't just going to these events, it's also just finding people within your community and connecting with them. And through that, I will say that has been very successful for me. Like I said, with the job at the cafe, like, I've been talking to people more and just sharing what I do. And when you share what you do with people and just ask for help, you'd be surprised how many people are actually willing to help. What questions/feelings has this entrepreneurship journey brought up in you, and how do you see yourself? I think at the start of the year, maybe January, February, I was dealing with a lot of imposter syndrome and doubt. And maybe that was because in January, February, I was doing a lot of light work for Curate. Like, I hadn't fully dived into everything. So I think I was just like, girl, are you actually gonna do this? Like, what makes you think you can do this, you know? And then in March, I feel like I was starting to feel a bit disappointed, because whenever I would get referrals, the clients that would come to me wouldn't be able to afford the services I have, or they wouldn't want to pay what the service is actually worth, or they'd be asking for discounts and stuff like that. And that would kind of just weigh on my head, because it would make me think, oh, like, are my services not worth the amount of money they're actually worth? Like, do people not see that value in me? And, you know, when you run your own business and when you're the one putting in all the work for it, you kind of believe that the success of the business is related to your value and how good you are at something, when that's not really true. It just means you need to reframe your approach, and you need to maybe improve your portfolio and all these other things, right? So, but yeah, that was something that really just lingered on my mind a lot. Like, am I actually good enough? Like, why doesn't anyone want to pay me what I'm worth? And I think once I just kind of realized, like, okay, I'm not targeting the right people. Like, why am I asking my friends for referrals? I need to go out there and prove to business owners that I don't know why they should choose me. You know, like, things aren't gonna always come to you through referrals. And I think I just thought they were gonna come to me through my connections that I already established. But no, I need to go after what I want. So a big lesson kind of came out of that. And as I entered April, I think the lesson I learned in that month was that if you want something, you really just need to go after it. And I think I really realized the amount of work I put into Curate in April, I think, is why I now feel very confident and secure about what I'm doing, because I've proven to myself that I know what it takes to build my business. I know how to sit down and grind and just work from morning to night, and I can do it. I know how to take care of myself and make sure I can function well enough to run my business and lead my team of 2, me and the content specialist. But you know, and I think even too, having the team keeps me more motivated and driven, because I'm working for myself and I'm also working to make sure I can pay my specialist, you know? Yeah, I hope that answers your question. This is a very loaded question, but I feel good. I feel confident and I feel proud of myself. There are days when I cry and I'm like, oh my God, Keiana, why did you take all of this on your head? Why are you stressing yourself out? You could just be living a little cozy life, working a little 9-to-5 job and calling it a day. On the flip side of that, I am just grateful to be here, and I'm grateful to be able to build my business and see it through. And yeah, I know I'm capable, so it's just a matter of, do I want to actually do it or not? But yeah. Okay, so that's everything that I have for today. If you guys liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, comment down below. I don't know if anything resonated with you, or you know, if you're on Spotify, hey, maybe leave a review. I don't know if this is like a podcast or a video yet. I'm trying to see if I want to bring my podcast back officially, because I would need to rebrand it and think about the concept and be consistent. And I will say, I don't know if I'm in the place yet to be picking up another project, but for now, YouTube's where it's at. If you guys liked the video, I already said that, so I'm gonna stop talking now. Thank you guys so much for watching, listening. XOXO. See you guys in the next one.